one of the things I like to talk about this in this context is we have 3 different modes. We go from me to we to all of us. It's really difficult to get in the all of us space when we're very me oriented. So as you're driving your business, as you're building your business, and as you have an increasingly larger team, at some point, you have to start looking through an all of us lens that enables a we context to get down to the me who's doing the work, okay? So if we're gonna help the me's in the room do the work, we need to know what they care about, what their strengths are. A lot of times we talk about playing to their strengths, which I think a lot of times gets confused as play to your skills. If you're a copywriter, write more copy, right? But in this context, playing to your strengths means if you're extroverted, you're strategic, you're an activator, achiever, and command, that's me as an example, play to your strengths, okay? Well, this is playing to my strengths as an example. In past leadership roles that I've had, one of the big things that often happens, like in the corporate jobs I've had, Fortune 500 jobs, is I get really misunderstood because like Brandy said, I'm super rare. Nobody knows this pattern called Justin. So when Justin shows up, they're like, this can't be true. I've never seen that before. I've seen this, so surely he fits in this box. And so it takes a special environment, not only for me to be able to lead, but to be able to transform this me, we, all of us culture that enables and empowers the teams. And when I finally get all that rough dirt, kicked up and told, then we can plant good seed and we grow. Well, the reason it wasn't growing before was because generally that environment didn't exist before I showed up. So I bring this up because ultimately I want to introduce this idea of recipes. The reason Brandy and I shared our dynamics, well, for one, it was controllable and we can not be worried about sharing, sensitive information. But number 2 is she made a comment. She said, look at all the ground just the 2 of us covered in our ability to, and how few gaps are covered in 2 people. A lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times you have many gaps and you need many people to cover the gaps. And so a recipe of success has everything to do with the people in your team and your organization. Part 1. Part 2, why we're here, in my belief, is that it has everything to do with who your partners are. Because Jordan, you have some strengths I don't have. Doug, you've got some strengths I don't have, right? Jen, Sasha, Roger, Chad. So if we think about this as a little garlic, a little salt, a little paprika, right? We think about these ingredients and the recipes we're making with these ingredients, we can really change how we build our organizations and how we influence each other to grow and succeed. And this is a paradigm shift because we're used to not operating under the assumption another business owner or possibly even a competitor could help us grow and thrive. But now, surely it's obvious there's so much to go around. There's so much demand. There's so much opportunity. It's not a matter of is there enough around for me? It's how do I get tapped into it? Right? And so this is a big part of what I want to share with you. My dog, Junie, is very food motivated. I'm very food motivated. So recipes resonate with me. And so I wanted to share this idea of recipe because when I was growing up, Aunt Betty's boudin balls were incredible. Have you ever had a boudin ball before? We got some people, some Cajuns in the house that have had some boudin balls. Aunt Betty was the high school cafeteria lady. Like literally, she was the high school cafeteria lady. She's incredible. Huge smile, extremely personable. And she had a food truck. And every weekend she would go to the fair and to the various places where they had food trucks. And she would make a killing. And everybody wanted to have Aunt Betty's boudin balls. Now, Aunt Betty passed away not too long ago. And she's got some 3x5 cards with the recipe on it. So years have passed. Guess how many people have had Aunt Betty's boudin balls? What was that? None. We've got some stakeholders in the family who are unwilling to share Aunt Betty's boudin ball recipe. I don't know what strengths those are, Brandy. Competitive? So instead of that great gift of Aunt Betty's boudin balls being generously shared and potentially benefiting even in a franchise concept or a recipe, right? Like Mr. Beast, you guys know Mr. Beast, right? Like he did these ghost kitchens out of nowhere with his burgers and stuff. He doesn't flip the burgers. He just had a concept, put it together, got a recipe out there, and it's in thousands of locations, right? We need to think more like our function building recipes. So in that regard, I think there's a recipe we build with the people in our lives, the partners that we have. There's also the recipe that we have in our own recipes of success. You call them playbooks, execution plans. You might even call them strategies, okay? So Tammy, raise your hand. Kenny, where are you at? Like, raise it high. Kenny, if Kenny's in here, I think he took a phone call. Jessica, I think, is in here. Raise it high. Just keep it up. Let's see. Chad, raise your hand. See, Rachel, you counting this. Let's see. I'm looking across the room, just trying to find out if I'm missing anybody. Julianne, you counting this. We have various people. Brandy, obviously. We have various people here who are experts, consultants, and coaches. Monica is a great clinician, but she's also a great leader in the space of DPC, right? Let's hope so. So when we are experts in something, we have strategies, playbooks, go-to abilities, right? And so some of the folks like Kenny and Tammy and some others are consultants, so their job is to show up with a success plan already in mind and then to help enable new success plans as they come forward. That kind of a recipe is what I'm sharing with you today. So it's inside this packet is the concept of 0 to 10 is how do we get going as fast as possible? That's what the workshop is about. How do we get going as fast as possible with a solid plan that will make an impact? And a lot of us know about goals, and we create goals all the time. And we also know about milestones, and we have deadlines and all those things. But what I wanted to share with you is when you start to think about unique ways to think differently, we're going to do these 5 things today and during our workshop. And you should be comfortable and somewhat familiar with every one of these steps, because in and of themselves, they may not be all that special. But like Aunt Betty's Boudin balls, the recipe matters, right? And so this recipe is a successful recipe for planning. In addition to that, when you understand how to do like the impact effort matrix, which we're going to get into, and you have a new way to run a lens, a new filter to run on how do you think about the importance of the work, and you sift it and shift it so that you're more strategically selecting by impact and effort rather than by instinct or by what's most pressing and urgent. And then, like, for example, this, and I'm just trying to walk you through some of this material and we're going to get started into the workshop. This VIM framework, this is this is a Justin recipe in and of itself. You won't find this in the marketplace. But what I have found is that the formula of success always comes down to 3 variables, just like algebra, right? You solve for X, Y, and Z. In this case, vision, intention, and means. It is like literally the great neutralizer of any initiative. Doesn't matter if you're doing, like David's doing, a technology initiative with AI. David, you're incredible. You're super genius. Or you're doing what Jordan's doing in retail space with lovely tall women who are trying to find the right clothes in their closets, right? Like, it doesn't matter what kind of project you're doing, you have to have vision, intention, and means together. If you don't have all 3 of those variables, something will fall apart because we have to have all 3 for a successful initiative. So if you've ever found yourself grinding your gears, it's because one or more of those 3 elements are missing, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Then this idea of DNA of success. Inside this little DNA thing down here is the way I think about this is we have one strand that's all about clarity. We have another strand that's all about impact. Everything that happens in between is the context. The reason I frame this up is because we have to act on context. Everything we do is about context. So me as a coach, consultant, or whatever you want to call me, I create a lot of context through the questions, through the analogies, and Betty's Boudin balls, right? Create a lot of context, hooks to hang things on, and that context enables clarity. That clarity enables us to be more impactful because we make better choices. because we don't have a decision problem, we have a choice problem. There's tons of information. So these activities that we're about to get into are to focus through your lens of building your business with whatever it is you're trying to do. And we're going to systematically create context, see choices, make decisions that are oriented to impact. Okay? So I know a few of you in the room really, really like tactical work. Who are my tactical people who want the punch list? Yeah. Just tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. Right? But who are my people out there who love to look into the future? See that crystal ball? Pull the future forward? Yeah. Right. We got to have both, though. We've got to have both of those views. And so we're going to look out into the 12 months ahead. We're going to pull that future forward. We're going to do our very best to make sense of what's unique to our business as we make a plan and walk through these steps. So here in a minute, I'm going to facilitate our workshop, and we're going to do this hands-on style. So inside your packets are a Post-it note, a Sharpie marker, and you've got obviously the instructions, and we're going to do this in stages. And so you don't jump ahead. We're going to do one stage at a time, and I'm going to help facilitate it. You can ask questions as we do it. So before we start moving around, the last thing I want to just encourage you is the reason I'm doing this is because 15 years ago, my partner was not a good partner. Wound up getting about $100,000 in debt in a short period of time. My lovely wife was pregnant with our second child, big belly pregnant. And I developed insomnia for 6 months. The last 6 months, I was looking desperately for help. I didn't know how to deal with my partner. I didn't know how to deal with my small team. We had very large contracts and a lot of pressure to perform for our clients, and things were just falling apart. And nobody understood me. Nobody understood my context. And when I went and talked to people and other business owners that I'd worked with before, people just like you, unfortunately, what I heard back was, tough break, kid. That's business. You're going to learn a good lesson today. Well, that's not very helpful. That's not very encouraging. So through that process, I'll just tell you, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Literally thought I was going to die. Like pain in my chest, thought I was going to die. I went to the doctor and said, I don't know, can't sleep. I have this thing in my chest. And he asked me a few questions like a good doctor does. And I got really emotional. And what I realized was 6 months had gone on, and this was the first human being who met me where I was at. Literally, where are you? What's your condition? Why do you feel this way? What got you here? What were you doing in the past that worked for you? What's not working anymore? Why are you so upset? Why is things not working? Why are you blaming yourself? What else is going on? This is the MD, the doc, the GP, just trying to figure out what's going on. And I broke down and I cried in front of this man because it just touched me that somebody was literally asking me questions. And he said, hey, Justin, I'm not Mr. Business Guy like you are, but I do understand what it takes to run a business. And I understand what it takes to have nurses on staff and to have demands. And it sounds like you have a lot of demands on your life right now. He offered me a hug and he said, I think what you really need isn't a prescription. I don't think you need some depression medicine. I'm happy to help you with that if you think that's what you need. But I think you kind of need a hug. You need a break. You need some Jesus in your life. Like, I think you need to really reflect on what's going on and let go of some of this pressure you're putting on yourself. And that kicked me off on a very different journey. Just coming out of that, I was like, okay, well, I need to figure something out. And so I started finding my people. And I did. I found people at church. I found people in other parts of the community. And my little boat started to rise up. And a little bit more started to rise up. And I started to sleep. Got rid of my partner. Slowly tried to figure out how to deal with this debt. Found people that were speaking into my life with stuff that made sense. Not toxic stuff, not stupid wisdom, but instead like what would work for me. Got a mentor. Got some people who would invest in me and care about me. And over time, that rising tide brought my little boat back up. And I went from feeling like this huge failure to feeling like I have hope again. And I thought to myself then, this is about 15 years ago, one day I'm going to figure out all these problems. I'm going to get all the answers. I'm going to figure this out. And I'm going to help the next person who's back at that place having partner problems, having sales problems, having debt problems, not because they're not capable and they don't have strengths, but because it's hard. And when you make fear-based decisions and you don't have a council of advisors and you don't have a recipe of success, you need help. And when you can't find it, you're in trouble. And I was in trouble. So all this today is the 15-year ago Justin playing it forward. I don't think any of you guys are in that place, but maybe you are. But we all need a little bit of help and we all need to be supported. And so as we go through this today, when we get to the end, I'm going to ask Monica, who's been a wonderful client through this process, to share some words with you. And I'll talk to you a little bit about how we might be able to work together in the future if you want that kind of support. But what I want to encourage you is a recipe matters. There's the recipe you build in your own team. There's a recipe you build in the partner and the circle of advisors, the council of wisdom. You can use all kinds of words you want. I like to call it tapping into the collective genius. This man, Chad, provided great genius. Rachel, great genius. Sasha, great genius. Jen, great genius. Genius comes from all kinds of places. Shame on us if we think we're the only ones that have the answers. That lone wolf strategy doesn't work. All right, so that's my soapbox moment to tell you how we got here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take if we're in a team, if you have a guest with you that's a part of your organization, you're going to be paired up at one of these posters or easels. So if you look around the room, we're going to use that as our active workspace. This is kind of like a whiteboarding session, except we're going to use the 3M posters and the 3M stickies and Sharpies as we do this activity together, okay? So here in a minute, we'll get to stretch our legs, move around, and you're going to kind of own a spot for the next couple hours as we work together. I'll pause for a minute. Any questions on anything I've shared or what we're going to do next?
23 spots.
Say that again?
We have 23 spots.
We're going to find out. Any questions or comments? Yes, Rick?
Just clarify, if we're alone, we work.
Yep, that's right. If you're alone, you work by yourself. I just want to, actually, I do want to say one thing real quick. If you don't mind, Sasha drove in a couple hours. Sarah here has driven in a few hours. 6 hours, 8 hours?
No.
6. Oh, 5.5, okay. Rachel in the back of the room flew from Virginia. And who else is here from out of the area? Andrea and Antoinette have come in from New Jersey. So, our community isn't just this local town. Our community really is the people who show up and who care. And whenever you have an environment that's being fostered, you can tap into that over and over and over again. So, and these guys, y'all are wonderful. Y'all are part of my Rapid Impact program, which is a cohort model. And that's basically, we have 12 businesses that work together for 90 days and we go deep week after week so that we get the support we need so that when we do spin out, we can regroup, we can recalibrate. That's been a popular word today, recalibrate. Get that GPS to redirect, okay? All right, so let's find your spots and then we'll start the activity. I will give some direction as we go. And any of you guys, if you feel stuck or you're confused or whatever, you just say, hey, Justin, right? And we're gonna figure this out together. So now we're gonna start working on our business in the workshops. Go find one of your posters. Who here is brave and willing to demonstrate what they came up with as their big ambitious goal for the group? Who's willing to share their big ambitious goal? Brett.
So we are at Fly Studio we decided to put it in instead of studio. So my big ambitious goal is to become a multi-unit brand by
I'm sorry, what kind of studio?
a lot of
So the big ambitious goal is to have multiple locations by the end of the year. Anything else to add to that?
what do you want me to do?
No, just asking if that's all you want to share with that. No, not that that's it. Just, sometimes you might say headcount, you might say revenue, you might say some,
Yeah, I guess being able to do it without taking the risk.
there you go. That's interesting, right? So how do I get to multi-locations? And you're in year 1 of location 1, right?
We're in week 3 of location.
Location 1, week 3. How do I get to multiple locations in the next 12 months without taking on investors? That deserves the one clap. Woo! Good job. Good job. Thank you for sharing. Who else has an ambitious goal they'd like to share? Yes.
Okay, so we own a kickboxing fitness studio. We only want to own one because we're only 2 years old and we're older. But our big ambitious goal is we want to gross $40,000 a month, which is, we wrote 250 members down because we're kind of like trying to figure out what's achievable. 250 would be amazing, but that doesn't equal 40,000, so that's almost 500 members. But can our one little studio handle 500 members? But we see it happen in 9 rounds. So we're a little confused in our goal. We want to pay ourselves, so $40,000 a month gross would do that.
Love it. Love it. So just to call this out, what Becca and Vanessa are sharing here is they see inside their partner network of other franchisees who have achieved that really impressive number of $40K a month. They don't have evidence that suggests they're going to do it. What they have is an ambition that they will do it, and they've seen other people do it, right? So that's a part of like imagination, vision coming to life. And what makes this ambitious is the fact that you guys are currently at 70 members. 71. Is that right? 71 members. So this is, I think, a really good example of a big ambitious goal. It's contained. It's got a clear number. It's actually got 2 clear numbers, right? It's got a monthly number and it's got a member number. And what's being baked inside this is we got to create some leverage. We got to do something that's an X factor to go beyond sort of the simple math, right? So when we do simple math stuff, where it's just like, well, I mean, I was going to do 50, so I'll just put another 0. Like that's like the simple math thing. This is really good. So now, as we work on a problem like that, and we start to work it through, now we don't just think about what is okay to get. We actually have to solve that problem of, well, how do I get, right? How did that other franchise get to 40K? How will I get to 40K? What will I do? And what will I do is always about your recipe, right? And how do you tap into what's around you, what resources you have? So vision, intention, and means. So when we have the vision of one location that's producing a lot of revenue, $40,000 a month with a member base, that's a vision that's quantified. Now we have to put intention, which is all of our willful action. It's what we will do, and most importantly, what we won't do. It always forces trade-offs, because if we intend to get to that kind of a number, now we've got to utilize our means, which is all of our resources. It's our personal time, it's our talent, it's our tools, it's our partners, it's our
24-hour gym.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe it's a 24-hour gym. Okay, that's great. Well, thank you for that. Let's get a single clap. All right, one last person to share their, yes, Rick.
So I've got 2 goals for kind of, so by December 2025, close and execute 20 deals per month with a value of $30,000, which will enable hiring 2 1099 techs for execution and a fractional COO and a fractional CFO, development of implementation automation. And by December 2025, build 5 mutual referral relationships where I'm contributing 10 leads per month, averaging 2 per partner. So this is out towards partners. It's instead of I'm doing a give model instead of a take model. which will enable healthy growth for all sections.
Great. So what Rick is doing is a paint by numbers understanding of his economic engine. And I know because of working with Rick, direct selling is producing one set of results, and Rick has grown a lot in his direct selling efforts. But then there's the partner model. That's a different selling model. And what you're describing there is a path to success by further investing in the partner or referral model, right, is how you describe that. So what's great about this is he could have said, I want to achieve all these results, just continuing on the same path. But he's recognizing there's some leverage in these referrals. And because he's in limited staff, which you can hear in his people count, right? He wants to bring some people on. So he's trying to find the leverage through partners. So if he can sell one partner once really, really well, and that then becomes 2 or more customers, now he's activating a channel, a lead channel that's actually producing fruit without him touching everything. So in his case, this is pretty high leverage activity. Good job. Thank you. Okay, so we are now going to move on to number 2. So if that's our big ambitious goal, now that we know what it is, we can picture it in our mind. It's 12 months from now. Now we've got to start thinking about what's in the way today. What do we already know is a problem that's going to trip us up? These tripping hazards, these walls we've got to jump, these hurdles we've got to go over, some dragons we've got to slay, okay? So that's what we want to work through now. So the way we're going to do that is the first part, the A part. We have 2 parts, A and B. The A part of this is what Rachel alluded to earlier, the problem purge. The problem purge is you are literally just going to just go, man, I've got this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, okay? You're going to unpack, unload whatever it is that's a problem, okay? And we're talking about legitimate business problems. We want to try to be in the impactful areas, right? So an example of a problem is I have, and there's more than 4 people with this problem, so I'm not singling one person out. I have a key employee who wants more scope, more role, more pay than they currently have. And for me to get where I need to go, that probably needs to make sense, and it doesn't today. Because I do care about my people, and I want that goal to be true. And I'm going to have to navigate this one-person people problem because I've got to take care of this person to get where I want to go, right? That would be an example of a problem that might show up in your problem purge. Is it negative? Not necessarily. It's just a problem you got to deal with, right? You might also have a problem like my cash flow. I'm right now, my runway is short, and I'm burning cash. I'm not making cash, right? That's a problem. I got to fix my cash flow problem, right? So you're going to go through and just start to dump out those problems, and you should come up with 20. Let's just say like that should be a goal. Let's hit 20 problems, okay? And then once we're done with that, we're going to move over to the B task. So you're thinking strategy, you're thinking people, you're thinking sales, you're thinking cash, you're thinking brand, all those things that might be problematic. Vanessa's like, hold my beer. I'll tell you all the problems.
We have lists, we're making more.
Yeah.
You said 20.
Yeah.
We only have
You're
7.
going to rise to the occasion. I love it. Nicely done.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
How's it going?
Good.
How's your throat? Are you getting sick?
Great. Yeah, probably.
What the heck? You can't do that.
Well, we're all human. I'm just mimicking what you said up
Yeah.
there. I'm so sorry
You gonna go?
that I picked up the easels at all.
So what now? I'm
'Cause
sorry
I
I picked
started
the
to
easels.
set up the easels, and then everybody joined in, and then all of a sudden, all we hear is this ripping of all these
Oh, yeah.
papers. And I said, "Can that wait? No, if we don't do it now, we're never gonna get done." I'm like, fuck. And I just feel like I started that, and I'm like, the poor video editor is gonna be like, "What the fuck? There's all this background noise," and I have to
Going back. Sound good.
Well, I wrote it down. I will never do that again.
Okay.
Just sit my ass down.
What do you think so far in what we're doing?
I think that this workshop is the most meaningful thing we've done so far. This is interesting. I mean, this is good.
Cool.
This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is what I do.
I know. but it's great.
But I also can't explain it to anybody until they experience it,
Mhm.
which is my big marketing problem.
Which you're packing into an afternoon, which is perfect. Everybody gets to experience it.
As we're working through these big challenges, I love it. You guys are doing great. So I just want to give you a quick feedback as you're working through these challenges of what's not working, what are your biggest blockers and challenges. If you're finding yourself maybe not generating 5 on each of these questions, which is say you haven't generated 10 stickies yet, look at where your time is going that it shouldn't go to. Look at things that you're reworking that you shouldn't rework. Look at things you are doing that you personally should not be doing, right? Like all those things are signals on the what's not working and your biggest blockers and challenges. And if anything is not, as you think about your ambitious goal, you can already see like, hey, this thing is going to be a big blocker for me. Like Brett mentioned, I want to do this multi-location setup without any infusion in cash from an investor, right? So he probably has on his mind something that could be a blocker, right? Like if he has an issue that pops up and now all of a sudden there's a cash flow problem that's unexpected, not planned for, because it sounds like he's got plans on several fronts, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a blocker, right? So we want to just we're going to take another couple minutes here to do this part around what's not working in blockers and our problem purge, because we're going to use all that to transform into our plan. So this isn't throwaway work. This is going to help us get to our next step, okay? In the way, we've successfully completed our problem purge. We've identified what is not working. We've identified our biggest blockers and challenges. Now, the last thing that generates some content here is we're going to identify the 1 or 2 things we can now see with the context we're building. Remember the DNA of success, clarity and context and impact, right? We've been generating context. With the context we have, what do you know is most important? It's usually 2 things that stand out right away that are very clearly most important for the business to be focused on right now based on the context you've generated. Write those usually 2 statements that are most important right now for the business to be working on. That should give us our last run. So I just want to go around, get a couple of examples of who wants to share something they identified that was not working. Who would like to share something that they were able to isolate as a not working item in their business?
Oh, yes. What we have determined is really not working is our solid sales process.
Solid sales process. That's a good one. Okay. That's a very good example of a what's not working. Solid sales process. Okay. Who else has a identified not working? Rudolph.
So one that I know is a new one for me was the team is not aware of what my role is. I told everybody what their opinion, what their role is within the organization, but I haven't told them what my role is. And I feel like what that has caused is that everyone thinks I'm doing everything, so they're always being.
Yeah. This is a good one. So we have the CEO of the company, who is the CEO of the company, with employees who do not know what the CEO of the company's role is. Yeah, we've been there before, right? Okay, that's a good one. Jessica.
Willing to read too fast, trying to solve problems.
Okay,
I'm making it way too complicated, and then it's not.
that's a really good insight.
Yeah. I'm trying to solve too many problems too freaking efficiently.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one, though, because you can work through that. That's an excellent. Okay, so that's what's not working. Tell me, who wants to share a blocker or challenge they came up with that really rang their bell as a blocker or challenge to their business? Jen, do you have any blockers or challenges?
Well, Jessica just helped me realize that one of my challenges should probably be a partnerships. Because I keep finding that people aren't ready for the service that I have to offer. And I'm backtracking and trying to do what this means, but a partnership's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that?
That's great. That's a good one. Any other blockers or challenges?
Conflicting roles. Like I two roles that are conflicting. One is very extroverted and out there and trying to get the word out, and the other one is I really just need more time behind a computer. So I'm like fighting.
You personally have to? Okay.
Yes.
So the CEO of the company has two different roles that she's playing that are conflicting with each other. One is a hunker down, get things done. The other one is be out in the field, make things happen, shake hands, kiss babies.
Correct. Yes. Kiss babies.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Andrea. What's an SOP? Standard operating procedure. So not enough SOPs. So that's a blocker or a challenge? Is that what you identified as a blocker or a challenge? Perfect. Is there any category, by the way, of SOPs that resonate with you guys? So like training? Is it operations? Is it? Oh, it's everything. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a blocker and a challenge. That's definitely going to interfere with how we get to our ambitious goal, right? If we don't have a mechanism in place for standard operating procedures and a training mechanism, an ability to actually say, this is what we expect. A lot of this comes down to expectation. So our SOPs help clarify expectations as well as the process itself, right? Because people like us do things like this, and they need to know that that's not just because Andrea and Antoinette are like great clinicians. It's people like us have a process like this. That's how we do this, right? Okay, good. All right, who would like to share what they saw as most important? This is a big impact thing that's most important for the business. Roger. Stop doing it all yourself. That's most important. That sounds like a good one. Okay. Anybody else feel like that's useful? Yeah. I'm in there too, right? I do a lot myself. Yep. Okay. What else? What else is in the most important? Patrice, what would you come up with as most important right now?
Not to forget my why and my niche, like my market.
Okay. Great. My raison d'etre. Reason for being. Good. Okay. Cool. Sasha. There we go. Yep. Financial modeling and forecasting for what purpose, by the way? Good. Most important, I want to make better decisions with financial modeling and forecasting data. I've got the data. How do I do something with it? Okay. So we have now gone through step 2, what's standing in the way in our current state based on the big, ambitious goal that we're looking for. Now, you're going to do this thing here. Let's see if we can find it. This plus sign is the effort impact matrix, okay? So high effort, high impact, low effort, low impact. The effort impact matrix. Now that you've got all these sticky notes, you want to create your effort impact matrix, and you're just going to literally do what this says, and you're going to now cluster all your sticky notes according to which of the quadrants, the 4 boxes it fits in. What we're really concerned with is being intentional about our high impact, high effort, which would be top right, our high impact, low effort, which would be top left. We want to see what lands in those buckets because that's what we're going to talk a lot about next. The stuff that's lower in the lower left quadrant and the lower right quadrant, not so much. So really, here's the thing. Sometimes when we play it safe, we wind up generating a lot of not working blocker stuff that doesn't fit anywhere but that lower left corner or that lower right corner because we're kind of we're phoning it in. So this is just a way to be honest with ourselves that like we made it easy on ourselves. We said like, what's not working? I have too much email. Well, that's not very impactful if you fix it, right? Unless you somehow managed to build a business on email. Okay, so does that make sense what we're going to do next? You're going to create a plus sign that creates your effort impact matrix. It will look like, how did I lose it that quick? Here we go. It will look like that, and you will have a bunch of sticky notes clustered in the 4 quadrants. So this shouldn't take you but 5 or 10 minutes to just regroup all your sticky notes, and they will now identify what's in the top right for high impact, high effort, and what's in the top left for high impact, low effort. Okay. All right, my friends. So we're making progress. At this point, you should have been able to start moving things into highest impact on the top and left and right, high impact, low effort, high impact, high effort. Okay? Now here's what I want to tell you. A lot of times, it's our high impact, high effort work, so the top right. It's that work in the top right that we actually must do because we've been piling up all this real value creation, this real leverage, this real breakthrough, this real opportunity. We've been piling it up because we're not sure. We're not confident. We don't have all the answers. We have some blind spots. It feels hard. It's not what I'm best at. You know, I could probably fail if I did this, right? There's a lot of reasons why we haven't done it. But the truth is, when we focus on the high impact, high effort work, we always see progress on the other side of that wall because it is holding so much value, right? So the key is you guys are really good at understanding your business and what should be. The question just becomes, how do I get there, right? So this is something I talked to Brandy a lot about is like, once I know what it is I want to do, we can figure out the how, right? Well, right now there's a gap between your brain and your heart saying, you know, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do this, therefore I'm not going to do it, right? So again, going back to the recipes, right? That's why we want to have a team recipe. We want to be in a community, right? Recipe. We want some outside influence that has expertise that can help us. We need to figure out the how. Once we understand it's impactful, it's worth prioritizing. This whole thing is about understanding where our impact is. So if I can realize I've been doing it my way and I've gotten to this place, but where I want to go next, I'm piling up all this value, then that means I either have to become something different or I have to bring new elements in to adjust this high impact, high effort stuff. And guess what? This is the circle of life. We're constantly going through this loop of this is really challenging. I don't know if I can do it. And then I decide, screw it, I'm going to do it. Right? I'm going to figure this thing out because everything is figure outable. It's just a matter of what we do with it and when we decide to activate on it. Some of us delay, and ultimately it will cost us our business. So I bring this up because I knew I had a partner problem 16 years ago. I knew I had a debt problem. I was burning cash fast and I was just accumulating debt. I knew that $30,000 print job that I held myself accountable to with the printer that my customer did not was going to be a problem, right? But I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't have anybody in my corner to help me, right? So the key, though, is if I would have identified these things sooner, I would have acted on them sooner. And especially true if I would have had somebody either in my organization or outside the organization say, hey, Justin, what you're doing right now with debt, not responsible. What you're doing right now with that partner who you don't know where he's been the last 7 days, and then he tells you he's been doing business development, I'm just going to tell you I call BS on that. Oh, right? So like sometimes that's what we need. So on the other side of this impact effort thing is really our biggest opportunity. We have to start prioritizing that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. We know the big ambitious goal matters. The thing that's going to block our big ambitious goal is if we refuse to do the high impact, high effort work. I'm just telling you. Right? So that's why, ultimately, we look back at this VIM model, vision, intention, and means. Because if it's our vision to do our big ambitious goal, then our intention has to be our willful action of what we will do and what we will not do. It always causes trade-offs, means decisions are being made. Decide is to cut off. We're going to cut off some stuff so that we can focus on the right work with our means. Our means are always time, talent, tools, resources, everything we can put to bear. So if we stop doing everything and we started to be really intentional on a few really high impact things, then we can either learn, grow through it, push through it, or we can bring people in to bring in new value to help us solve that problem, right? So the how then becomes a strategic question of what are the means that are going to enable this breakthrough, right? And sometimes we need other people to help. Sometimes we need to just put our big boy pants on. And I know that's kind of hard to hear, but that's a part of the process, right? So as an example, Monica has faced this challenge of this high impact, high effort work a handful of times over the last 9 months together. Monica, you want to share any kind of anecdotal feedback or what your experience has been like with that high impact, high effort quadrant?
I'm really good at avoiding hard things. I'm really good at doing easy things, right? You need me to send an email on your garage. No problem. And it has made a huge difference. You have to do the things that matter. Those emails, sure, they matter this much, but planning and speaking in front of 50 women that moves our membership numbers by 20, that's what really moves the needle. So how do you find those things that will really move the needle, give you the clarity that will push your business forward? And it's going to suck, but I'll tell you, if you can't do it, find an accountability person. Because I did my first cohort with Justin solo, and it was fine. And then I brought in Kristen, who's my operations manager. Between the two of us, it really helped us to find holes that we didn't know existed. And also made us work together to get those high impact things done. So I know there's a lot of solo movers in here, and that's fine. But find your buddy, find somebody who will help you move along, and don't buddy who's at the front of the room, his name is Justin. He will make you get your shit done. And then he will yell at you. I know he sounds really sweet. He's not that nice. I hate to break this to him. But yeah, it's really about finding favor the community, finding that clarity of what is going to move your business forward. We can all sit here and be really, really busy and make really stupid shit, but it's not going to do anything for you. And that might be why you're doing it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and when we're faced with these opportunities, and not to overshare, but I guess I will because Monica usually lets me. We were in the same zone, and one of the things I said is, well, Monica, do you want to do that, or is there somebody else that can do that? Because not doing it's not an option. Going through this loop a few times, we solved it a few different ways over, let's call it 4 weeks, 6 weeks probably. And then some things came up, we got distracted with other important things, and then came back to this question, let's call it 3 months later. And then we were back in this space of looking at the same issue again, high impact, high effort. And I just simply asked, what if the vendor you're using now actually had the responsibility of a CMO? What if you just changed the expectation of this partner that you've already selected, that you know does good work, but you have this vendor relationship? What if that relationship changed? Right?
I went to my marketing agency that was kind of halfway doing my marketing. I was like, listen, I need you all in or you're out. And just like you, they don't want to lose a customer. They knew my business in and out, and it was going to be a pain in the ass for me to switch marketing agencies. But I basically went for like, I need you to be my CMO, my fractional CMO, and you need to step up and you need to look at all aspects of my business, not just the social media. And it has changed everything. And it did not take that much work for me. Now we do more meetings, we have more conversations, but it has ultimately changed all of our marketing. And she has stepped in and has done marketing training. I've developed a whole marketing training thing for people. And it's because of making that change. And I was just looking for a vendor, and Justin was like, fuck. So
Right.
it's not always something you have to do. It might be something somebody you have to do or something you know.
That's right. So I'm just sharing these examples to encourage you that, like, this is more like a cube than a flat sheet of paper. It's not linear, right? There's dimension. There's dimension to it. And that's why the VIM framework, vision, intention, and means, is so powerful, because we knew the vision was to get Monica to find capacity somewhere and also get more sales. We also knew that she was either going to have to fully own that scope or not. We couldn't be in the middle because we've been in the middle for a while. And so using VIM, we were like, well, what if? What if the vision shifted to this person who's already a part of our means becomes a part of our vision? And so we literally just brought out of the means bucket to the top and said, what would that look like? And that helped us break this free. And it was in the high impact, high effort category functionally, but in reality, it became super low effort once all that got clear, right? Because then it was like that person took on the additional scope. Monica got down into the task stuff that she's great at. She's like, oh, I can kick out those instructions, right? I know exactly what to do now. And those are the breakthroughs, right? She could have continued another 6 months cycling on this. That's what we mean. They start to pile up, right? So 6 months of piling up versus 6 months of this breakthrough, that's compound, right? That's how we compound our growth, pull the future forward. So I'm only belaboring this point because it's a little abstract, but ultimately it's a big unlock. Once you understand that this is all you got to do is continue to aim at these things and push them through, you have a big unlock. Okay, so we've got now our effort impact matrix. We got the stuff in the top right. We got the stuff in the top left. By now, the context we've generated with our most important and our high impact, high effort stuff, the game changers, and our big ambitious goal, we should start to be able to see this kind of footpath emerging between where we are now, some of the blockers and challenges that are in our way that are in the high impact or high impact, high effort, or high impact, low effort. And this little footpath should start to become clear of how we get from where we are now, at least mostly, to that 12-month ambitious goal. So that's what brings us into this next step in our activity here is how do we understand our three major outcomes 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and 9 months from now? I have a process in the cohort that I teach around value horizons, but for the sake of simplicity, this is some might call it your big rocks, if you're familiar with EOS, right? These are your big rocks. But basically, these are three very specific goals, 3 months out, 6 months out, 9 months out, that encapsulate this understanding, this context of what you need to break through that's high impact so that you can get to your big ambitious goal. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on next, is actually defining those three major rally points. If we were in a organization with 20 or 30 people, these are the big three things we're working on this year. This is like how you create that sort of tip of the spear comment, right? Like this next quarter, it's all about churn and customer retention and expanding our LTV. So everything we're doing right now is we're going to fix this not sales problem. We're going to fix this customer retention problem. We're going to figure out, like what Sasha shared, we're going to figure out what the data tells us on the dashboard. We're going to get better at measuring our churn. We're going to stop the bleeding, and then we're going to recover from that. That's basically us like threading a needle through our problems blockers, most important, in 30 days, right? Or 90 days. And then behind that might be the next step of, well, if we've got our churn fixed, the next thing behind that is we want to elevate our customer acquisition, because now that we fix the back of the house where the leaky faucet is, now we can move to the front of the house and do a better job to shrink our sales cycle, to have more people in our pipeline, and to convert more leads into prospects. So that maybe is all about sales enablement, our sales training, and customer acquisition with ads or something, right? And then all the way out past that, in 9 months, your big ambitious goal is now looking very close. So whatever that thing was, in Brett's case, he wanted to have multiple locations. So then in that case, it's like, okay, what will I have done to stockpile cash? Because I'm using my own cash, I'm not using private equity or whatever to do it. And so those strategies in that 3 to 6 months, he needs to have something that's popping out cash. So does that mean he created a course? Does that mean he has a traveling roadshow? Does that mean he's got some grand opening model that's working like gangbusters? I don't know. But like that's an example of like, as we thread the needle through blockers challenges, most important, that becomes more and more clear. So he should be able to say with confidence, these are the three big movements we're going to have because we're solving these discrete problems that are in our sticky notes. Does that make sense? Easier said than done, I know. That's why we're here, because we've already made the time to figure this out. So our next step is to define those three goals in roughly 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. You can control if that shrinks around a little bit or whatever, but you should be able to find three big movements that are high impact that are going to really move the needle for you. Okay? That's the next step. So here's a couple things I want to just really break out for you as you do this. For one, obviously these posters and Post-it notes, they're yours for you to take home and to continue to work on. Inside the packet, obviously, you can complete the next step, which is who owns it, right? That's obviously, we need some accountability. We need to define who's going to get this thing done. And do our best to make sure you're not the only one, just like Monica, right? You're not the only one that's going to do all these things if you have staff or vendors to help. And then beyond that, inside the same packet, you can see I call it 0 to 10 example, okay? This 0 to 10 example is literally just a walkthrough of every one of these 5 questions so that you could see by example what it looks like to be completed. And this way you could repeat this process on your own. So a couple of things that I heard in the group was like, I really think maybe I picked the wrong big ambitious goal now that I know what we're doing. Guess what? That's not uncommon because you've never done this before or you've done it, a year ago or whatever, right? Like this is something you build a muscle for. This is a very much an iterative act. It creates context. We move things out of our head. We put them on the page. That creates clarity. That then draws new action. So this is actually really good if you've gone through this entire loop and you're like, I think we should have picked another one and some of these things would have been better. Great. You are now using these tools to understand exactly how to drill into these areas to get the most bang for your buck, right? So the key here is high impact, high effort is always what's holding the breakthrough, right? And when we do those things, we're going to create breakthrough. And then when we can plan that over a 12-month period towards a big ambitious goal, what happens is our finite time and resources, we actually just substitute trash work that's not high value, that is consuming our time and resources, and we put instead something high impact and challenging that will still consume our resources. And guess what? You get a foundation, you get a step to step on when you do that, right? And you get to level up. So that is the process. So that material is in here. I want to tell you briefly why we have this background here. I'm really invested in this idea of the rising tide raises all boats. And you've got to believe that you're not a boat out in the ocean on your own by yourself. And that happens here. It happens in your heart. We have scar tissue. We have trauma. We have reasons to believe people want to shipwreck us. I understand all that. But the rising tide does raise all boats. And this is an act of trying to help us all see what happens when we flood in, right? We go from me to we. This is we. And when we do things like this, all of us benefit, right? I benefited today by hearing some of you guys explain the challenges and what's going on and bringing me new ideas, right? Some of you guys are teaching me things as I'm talking to you guys about what's going on. So this is a huge part of how we succeed in this new economy where information isn't the problem, support is the problem, clarity is the problem. We don't need more information. There's plenty of it. What we need is more direction, more support to get the hard things done. And that's what I'm proposing. So one of the things I want to encourage you guys, if you're interested in more like this, I'm in the process now, and it's in the booklet, and it's underneath the Rising Tide heading. It's probably towards the back of this little kit of things. There it is, yep. So this just kind of is like my ethos around it. And I'd like you guys to consider going to rocketleap.co/rising tide and putting a little bit of money into yourself and into this community so that we can continue to build out events and shared context together, help each other, not just me help you guys, but you guys help each other. Whether that's referrals and partnering, as some of you guys have mentioned, is a real big part of your business, or if it's actually having accountability and support or recipe swapping, right? Aunt Betty's Boudin balls, right? Sometimes those things are just low-hanging fruit. We just need to be in a community that's self-selected, that's enrolled in that way of thinking. And my encouragement to you, or my promise to you, is not everybody thinks this way, the way I think. And a lot of coaches and consultants out there want to get you in the workbook. Turn to page 7 of the workbook. A lot of mentors want to just check in every 2 weeks, see how things are going. I'm really just wanting to tell you, and please spread the word, I'm invested in this. This is what I want to do. I want to help you guys get to your best place and make an impact. I want to see you guys succeed through support that most people can't do.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thank you.
Justin is terrible at selling himself.
Oh, I wasn't selling. I was just telling.
So I'm going to do it for you. Thanks, Justin. So it was about a year ago. My friend Kim over here came to me and said, "Oh my gosh, I just met with this guy, Justin. Look at this paper towel."
Spot on a credit about it.
Like legit paper towel that has writing all over it. And I was like, what is that? She's like, "I just met with Justin. He told me all these things to do this. You need to meet with him." Listen, I've had a business coach before, and he was like, "What are your numbers?" "Well, why aren't they high enough?" "Well, I don't know. You're my business coach. Like, you tell me." So I was like, "Whatever, Kim. I don't need a business coach. I figured this shit out myself before. I'm going to do it again." Well, then Justin showed up at this micro group I did at Leander Chamber, and I was like, "Well, damn, who's that guy? I think he knows a little something." At the same time, I was transitioning from being a nurse practitioner to a CEO. Anybody have a business degree? Because I sure as hell don't. I have 3 degrees in nursing, not one in how to be a CEO. I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur meant when I started my business. I had no idea. And so I was transitioning out of taking care of human beings, talking about snot a lot, I'm really good at that, to trying to run a business. And and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I said, hey, Justin, can you help me? He's like, I think I can help you. I showed up at the meeting, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. He's like, so what is your problem? I don't know. That's why I'm here. I don't know how to be a CEO. I don't know what this job description is. We spent 3 hours together. I cried at least 4 times, but I left with very actionable steps to make my life better. And then I chose to meet with him again and again. And then he was like, hey, I'm gonna do this like 90-day thing. You wanna do it? And I was like, absolutely. At this point, I've written Justin a lot of checks for thousands of dollars, thinking, what the hell am I doing? I'm a small business, guys. My ROI from what I've paid this man, I can't even tell you. So, if it tells you anything, I've been in business almost 6 years, and we crossed 2,000 members today. I know, thank you. Well done, Kristen. For those of you that don't know what I do, I run a membership-based primary care office. And so 6 years ago, I moved here not knowing a single soul in all of Central Texas. So it wasn't like I had patients following me. I opened my business April of 2019 with 23 patients. And we crossed 2,000 today. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of that has to do with that man right there. In the last 9 months, our growth was more than double what it has ever been in the past. Now, it might be because I stepped out of being a provider and actually worked on my business, but I'll tell you, I could not have done it without this man. So, here's the deal. You can work with Justin in many ways. We have this new community. You all need to join. We all need to hang out because I want to learn all about all of you, and we can all make everybody better. I was real confused why this was up here. I was like, dear God, if I see that thing empty out one more time. I did not realize that was on purpose. It's well played, my friend.
Is it filling up or anything?
I know, right? I
Fair-
think it's
that's a
changed.
psychology. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Same
The other way you can do it is join the 12-week, 90-day cohort. It is meetings every week with either a one-on-one with Justin or with the group, and it will change your life. Is it cheap? No, but Justin's not cheap. This man has been all over the place, and he knows what he's talking about. So if you can afford it, I'm telling you, invest in your business and invest in Justin because it will be worth it. You can also just call him and say, hey, Justin, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Can we do a one-to-one? You will have more Post-it notes on your board than you've ever seen in your life.
That's true. You will.
I did a 6-hour one with him and 2 of my staff members because we thought that we didn't have the right job descriptions. Turns out we had no values. Who knew? It completely changed my entire trajectory of my business. In fact, one of my key employees quit because of it. Thanks, Justin. I'm blaming you.
It was good,
just
though.
So you know, it was the best thing that ever happened, you guys. Like, my team is in a better spot now than ever before. I went to Europe 3 times last year, and my staff never missed me. And it's because Justin has made me delegate things, and Kristen stepped up. So I'm sorry that I stole your thunder, Justin. But guys, I'm here to tell you, you've invested time today. Don't give up on yourself. There's something you can do, and this man can help you. That's all I'm saying.
It was very kind. She's right, though. So she's right.
It's not a cost, it's an investment.
Julianne says it's not a cost, it's an investment. She's my kind of girl. Okay, so these are workshops, right? But ultimately, let's get together more often. Let's continue to do this. And the way we do this is by raising our hand and saying, I want to be a part of this. I want to be connected. I want to increase my surface area to tap into the collective genius for the rising tide, all these things. But I just want you to remember this recipe matters. And if your recipe isn't working, you got to change some ingredients. You got to substitute it out, right? And you can. You just need to do it with people who know, who can help, okay? So we're going to move into the 4 to 6 happy hour socializing. I'm going to be walking around with all you guys and hearing how things went today. In the cohort that she mentioned starts February 1. We do an onboarding process for you nerds out there. I also have built a piece of software, and I ask over 300 highly impactful questions during your onboarding call to create your strategic canvas. And Chad, for example, was a part of this. He's like, Justin, can you tell me why we're doing this? Like, I'd like to know exactly what this is supposed to do. I feel like, right, you remember, you're like, and I was like, no, just answer the questions. It'll be fine. Another set of questions. But what happens through this process is when the right questions get answered, you find the right problem. And then when you define the right problem, you define the right strategy. When you define the right strategy, you have your breakthrough, and you do it over and over and over again. And that's this process, this proven system. So right now today, I've got about 30 assessments with over 300 questions. It's not that we love questions. It's that we have ways to get to the right answer faster than if you just try to figure it out and read another 300-page book. You don't need to do that. There's stuff in there for sales, operations, culture, leadership. How do you actually orient to your big outcomes? There's some stuff around SWOT analysis. Like any stage you're in, whatever you're trying to do, we've got tools for it. And here's the big deal. If you have, like Jessica, she has a sales process. I just onboarded an expert that we put in 80 new yes-no questions because of her several years being a sales leader and putting her yes-no questions in there. We've got other people that are coming in and putting their assessments that help understand and diagnose. So what's going to happen is over time, specialized assessments come in and you guys get to say, that's my assessment. That's the thing that helps me figure out how to prioritize. So again, I just want to say, I'm so thrilled to do this. I'm fighting for you guys. I'm fighting to find the right communities to tap into, the right partners to bring in. I'm looking forward to, more people like Sasha and Jen and Jessica and Kenny, who's been walking around. These are guys that are serving clients just like y'all. They're not paying me. Like they're just in this group of people who care about these same positive outcomes. So we're going to celebrate this together. Enjoy the next 2 hours. There's some drink tickets we can give out for coffee or beer or whatever you're into. And I would love to connect with you one-on-one and have you guys connect with each other. Any last questions?
How do we sign up?
RocketLeap.co/rising tide to start sort of with the member monthly model. And then RocketLeap.co/rising tide. And then if you want to do the 90-day group, let's talk about it so I can get you set up and go through that process. Raise your hand if you're in the next cohort, just so people know. Maybe you can talk to them. So we've got Kim, Rick, Sarah, Julianne and her team, Sasha. So if you're wondering what the heck is this 90-day cohort, you can talk to those guys. You don't have to talk to me about it. And Rachel also. So, all right. It's been a pleasure to serve you guys today. Thank you. It's easy to get stuck. It's a lot easier to get unstuck with 4corequestions.com. That's a free framework I prepared for you. Go check that out. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. We'd love to chat with you there. And we've got some links in the description that can help you in your small business for impact planning and any strategic work you might be doing.